All right, welcome back. So those two gentlemen will be talking to us about this fuel subsidy matter. Yakubu Sulaiman is National Public Relations Officer for IPMAN. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
And then we've got Comrade Joe Ajero, who is the President of Nigeria Labour Congress. Good morning, Comrade. Thank you for joining us on the program today.
Morning.
Okay, so go ahead and tell us. There's been several reactions, including from some of your colleagues, and about what they think of this fuel subsidy following the speech by the president. So as of this morning, what is there a position by Labour, or what is it?
Well, the position by Labour has been a very lively one. It is still living. It is the same position that even if Mr. President has the best of intentions for Nigerians, there can be abortion before pregnancy. You can't go into such a sensitive area without providing an alternative. And this brings us back to where we were before Mr. President came on board. You know, the same point was made up to 2021 when the committee set up by the former president was meeting to look at the effects and alternatives to what they call withdrawal of subsidy. And the committee was set up by government where they were dialoguing with Labour. The committee adjourned sine die and never reconvened. And at this point, the president was just coming from his house and announced total withdrawal of subsidy. I want to expect that the president should have asked questions and find out the implication this will have on the majority of Nigerians. And in the discussion that was ongoing, we looked at various options, including the repair of the refineries, Warri and Port Harcourt, and eventually Kaduna, for which contracts have been awarded. The delivery dates were December, later they said February, up to this moment. You know, no response, no comment made on that. We looked at the second option, which was CMG, and which we were told to be concluded within 3 months. It was on the basis of this that the last government promised to provide buses for mass transit and about 100 and something buses for Labour to cushion the effect of transportation. And on the basis of that, the same government provided 2 vehicles, 2 buses that is parked somewhere that is not in use between 2021 to date. And how one could now announce, that subsidy is gone without providing alternatives.
So,
and the CNG.
Comrade, pardon me, if I could just ask you. Now, I know, it's still out there. The immediate past government, even some ministers did say that subsidy was already gone. The PIA made that very clear. And so when this president came on board and made his speech, did he really announce removal of subsidy, or stating the obvious, what the law already provided for?
PIA.
Well, when you say something, I don't want to either leaders or analysts to play with polemics. In our conversation with Nigerian people, we can't be hiding around where it's either gone or is going. As at today, as at the moment he made that announcement and pronouncement, prices were still at the point they were up to how many years down. And the pronouncement from Mr. President is as good as law. And if in the process he will make a law that is not practicable, the same people that made the law can look at it. When we talk of law as something of life and death, the law we made that was made by man and say it's gone. Now, why has the price not gone up if others were saying that the subsidy is gone? The point I'm making is that we should have studied the situation. Does it bring pleasure for us to say subsidy is gone and people start suffering? Is it not part of leadership for us to look at how this could be taken, the suffering of the people could be reduced.
Okay.
Is it a matter of heroism to announce subsidy is gone?
All right, so let me bring in Colonel Sulaiman here. What is IPMAN's understanding of this matter, or probably position as well?
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians. IPMAN positions is that Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria is supporting or has supported the deregulation of the industry. Removing subsidy is the only answer to make Nigeria great. Because in a simple term, any economics knows and everybody is aware that there is no country, any economic of any country that can survive without deregulating the economy. And we really applaud Mr. President for, having the courage to announce the removal of subsidy. And if we could recall, it is not the President Tinubu that removed subsidy. Even the last government, I think, they only put subsidy to the end of June in their budget. So basically, in the 2023 budget by July, there's no subsidy. So it's just, telling people, informing Nigerians that there is no, it's just affirming that there's no subsidy. And to our own observation, or rather understanding with Mr. President, it's not that from that day for yesterday when he said there's no more subsidy that the regulation will start. No. It has to be maybe like June or July, or rather he has some economic advisors and with the NNPC and the NMDPR people that and the other stakeholders, IPMAN, MOMAN, DAPMAN, and even the Labour, he's talking now, Mr. President of Labour. Yes, of course, stakeholders must meet and dialogue, but I want to assure Nigerians the regulation is the answer. And I want to assure Nigerians too that the NNPC, the NMDPR have assured Nigeria that they should not panic. There is availability of products.
Yeah, so while the NNPCL might be giving that assurance to Nigerians, are you also speaking to your members to also ensure that they're selling these products, the ones that they currently have within their stations, to Nigerians, at least at the price which is supposed to be sold until the official announcement, or maybe there's already an announcement, depending on how they interpreted it. I think that interpretation is extremely important, but we know that subsidy is in the budget until June this year. That's what our law says.
Exactly.
So if that is the situation, are you speaking to your members to say, I hope you are selling petrol and making sure that this product is available to Nigerians until at least the end of June this year?
Absolutely, yes, my friend. When we woke up yesterday, or rather, when we saw that long queues in the filling station, we said, what's really happening? And we come to realize that it's just panic. That announcement, of course, people were confused. They thought that, like I've told you, the day Mr. President announced it, they thought the regulation will start that day. They have forgotten that there must be policy statement that will come, and they said effective date, the date that can be fixed, the regulation will start. So, and they have forgotten, and Nigerians, we have forgotten that the subsidy, is only going to end on June.
Yeah, but the signs were already there.
And we try to, inform and highlight to our members. They should not panic, number one. They should just continue selling their product and their filling station at the appropriate pricing.
What is the appropriate pricing?
The normal pricing. When you go to the stations, definitely, how the normal price is, what government has, stated that...
Perhaps for the reminder of your members, we need to restate it, that they are aware of what the normal pricing is.
It's like some people are, you know, some station when you go, they say like 195, you know, some 196, so it's still there.
So it shouldn't be beyond that band.
It's not, because that's the, of course, that's the stipulated, and that's the normal price the filling station used to sell before even day for yesterday's announcement by the Mr. President.
Well, Mr. Suleiman, you are aware that even before this announcement by the President, the signs were already there that people were expecting either that the announcement will be made or maybe on Inauguration Day or perhaps in the very first week. Because if you drove around even just Abuja, you would see that quite a number of filling stations were not selling petrol. If they were selling maybe from 1 or 2 pumps, making it quite difficult for people to be able to access this product easily. Yes, there were no obvious queues, but you could tell that the signs were there that any moment from now, we could be seeing a lengthy queue. So at that point in time, would you say that you had already started engaging with your members to say...
When we realized, you know, we have a monitoring team in IPMAN, and every day they monitor filling stations around the clock. All the state of the federation, they bring report to our national president, and we now understand that yes, even our marketers, that apprehensions is there. They were just like waiting to hear from Mr. President. What is the way forward? Is it true? Let us hear the blueprint of the industry. That was the lackluster attitude from the industry. Not only IPMAN members, filling stations, even the Moman and Dakman stations. You know, the industry was so like awaiting. What is Mr. President going to unveil his agenda in the industry? So that was what prompted that issue that you realize. Then we try to highlight to them, please, this is a policy, this is a law, and everybody knows the law says that by June, subsidy will end.
Okay. So, if I comrade, now, is it that, because I see different statements now and different interpretations to this, is Labour saying, yes, subsidy can be removed, but certain things have got to be put in place? Or is Labour saying you can't remove subsidy entirely because it will, at some point or in one way or the other, still affect us all?
Subsidy is the language of the government. Labour was not part of the issue called subsidy. And it's important for us to situate the word subsidy so that we don't accuse Labour of saying don't remove subsidy if there is anything like subsidy. If they do some of the things Labour suggested, they will not be talking of subsidy. And let me put this, you know, there's a big difference when you bring a trader to this station who is thinking of, you know, making maximum profit, and the one that is separated from his members. Go to every filling station in the country, nobody is selling at an appropriate price, and somebody is there telling you that his members, you know, are selling the appropriate price. That is not true. Now, even if you remove subsidy, according to them, removal of subsidy has to do with price increase. That is the interpretation they are giving it. They will not tell Nigerians that they are not into production. Any government that is not into production is finished. Now, why are we running around subsidy, what we are going to use to buy a product that is produced in this country? Why are we not into production? Why are people not importing from Nigeria finished product? So I think, you know, the difference is that Labour is saying that this crude is produced in Nigeria, you refine it cheap to Nigerians, accessible and affordable, you know, to all Nigerians here. So that's the language of Labour. And we actually said the CNG issue is still indigenous. The natural gas deposits in Nigeria can last for the next 500 years. And they say we can convert our vehicles to CNG within 3 months, and there will be no need, you know, for all this importation and subsidy. And then when you look at all this, you don't want to do it. You say subsidy is gone. You don't care how it affects people. And who are you even saving money for? Is it not the people? What is it that even Nigerian government can participate in? Can they even participate in managing a poultry or whatever? So what are we telling ourselves?
Well, comrade, the government says we do not have funds to continue payment of the subsidy. So is Labour's position saying that this is not the case? And if you say the word is not subsidy, what is it?
See, the word is incompetence. If you produce crude, you sell it at 5 naira, and you buy finished products at 10 naira. It's incompetence. The such government should be ashamed of themselves. You send it to somebody at 5 naira, he refines it and sells back at you at 10 naira. Then you go and look for money to buy it at 10 naira. That difference of 5 naira is what we are calling subsidy. Why can't you refine it in your country? That's the weakness we must all establish here. Let them come out openly and tell Nigerians that is the difference between what they are selling the crude and what they are buying the finished product. Where has production gone? All the people that should have worked in such sector, even the byproducts, are gone. Nigerians are unemployed. And then you are talking of subsidy. Who is asking them to pay subsidy if you can refine here? Where does subsidy come in? Why did they kill all the refineries in Nigeria?
So, okay, we need to go to break now, but we will talk about Labour's proposal and examine it alongside what the industry stakeholders are also saying could be possible or not. All of that when we return in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, Yakubu Sulaiman of IPMAN and Joe Ajero of NLC are with us talking about this fuel subsidy. Well, Comrade Ajero, TUC put up a statement saying government cannot unilaterally remove subsidy. And saying they needed to have a lot more consultation with stakeholders before certain things are done. You, on the other hand, say that there isn't any such thing as subsidy, it is incompetence. And then when government says no more subsidy, then there will be protests, meaning there is something going on there. So from your perspective, what solutions is Labour proposing to address this situation?
Like I said in my opening statement, government seemed to have shown interest in discussion. As of last night, they reached out and we have fixed 2 p.m. today, to commence discussion. There, all these other issues will be discussed because you can't just say no subsidy and then you are not producing. And you leave us to the vagaries of the market. And then you leave us to people who want to sell the product they bought for 10 naira for maybe 100 naira to maximize profit. So we must find a way, that if there's no guarantee, we must find out what we are going to eat. Nigerians must converse, we must discuss. We must merge, market, profit, with social safety net. The 30,000 naira minimum wage paid, about 50% of the states have not implemented it. No public transport system, the education system is not functioning. You can check out whether you have electricity supply. From the same amount, you are going to buy small fuel to generate your own power, on and on. We must look at the alternatives. We must look at it. And since they have fixed a meeting for 2 p.m. today, we will start conversation from there. That is what we should have done before now.
But I want to ask, is Labour alarmed in any way? Because shortly after the president made that pronouncement, we heard the GCEO of the NNPCL, which has now been privatized, saying that the federal government owes their company, or the company that belongs, of course, to the Nigerian people, 2.8 trillion naira in subsidy payments. I'm wondering, as a union, is that figure concerning to you?
Well, he is free to mention any figure that somebody is owing, a husband is owing the wife, or a husband is owing the children. NNPC belongs to Nigeria. The federal government is Nigeria. The people, will be Nigerian. So when they want to balance their figures, if none of the refineries are working, I think the NNPC and others should be ashamed in the first instance, because the figures they are mentioning is enough to fix the refineries, to keep Nigerians in employment, and to make products available to Nigerians. So those are some of the issues. We can't discountenance production at the expense of market, at the expense of saving money, at the expense of balancing the figures on what we borrow from NNPC. Where did NNPC get that money from? Is it not for the business? Is NNPC not a Nigerian company, like he said, whether private or whatever? So I don't understand this. Is that the only thing they are doing for Nigerians in the first instance? Is it from profit from NNPC, or NNPC borrowed from central bank? Is central bank not Nigeria? And those are questions that must be answered. And if you remove this and NNPC makes profit, maximum profit, what happened? And Nigerians keep on suffering. People trekked to their homes yesterday. People couldn't buy the product. At the current cost of the product, you can't even do anything. You can't enter bus to your office. The prices in the markets have gone up. So, and the NNPC will be talking about profit, and then CBN. So we need to balance the two. We need to balance the profit with the social needs, and the economic needs of the people.
Do you imagine that there is any way that we'll ever have this discussion on what to do about, because this is not the first time. The discussions around the removal of fuel subsidy have been on for as long as I can remember. We had a very big incident in 2012. That's I think the most recent we've had in our history, where a government did attempt to remove it, and we saw how it went from there. But I want to ask you if you think that ever this subsidy can be removed without the difficulties which Labour is afraid will eventually attend it.
Well, I think I don't want to say that we've continued to have governments, that don't want to look at the needs, that has closed their ears. After 2012, 2015, President Buhari made the same announcement that he has removed subsidy. And the price was fixed at 145. And you keep on wondering whether this subsidy remover, is a cat with 9 lives or 8 lives at the same time. Each one that comes, they will tell you subsidy has been removed, subsidy will be removed. So that's why we are trying to find out, in actual fact, whether our own understanding of subsidy is different from government understanding of subsidy. To them, subsidy has to do with price. And I'm ashamed with the position that NNPC is maintaining, because to the NNPC, subsidy has to do with change of price and imposition of price. If you say you have removed subsidy and you allow market dynamics, why announce price? Does the regulation go with price, imposition? These are some of the issues. Now, what do you have on ground before you talk of removal of subsidy? That is where Labour is concerned, to reduce and mitigate the effect of whatever you said, you are removing. To us, if Nigeria is producing, all these products, you are not talking of subsidy on Garina. You're not talking about subsidy on...
Mr. Jero, you're not quite answering my question. The question I'm asking is, do you think that this subsidy can ever be removed without the attendant hiccups which we're currently witnessing?
Well, that's what I'm analyzing to you. I've told you all the hiccups associated with transportation, associated with a price of commodities, and I'm asking you for us to identify this subsidy if it is different from price increase. If you say subsidy has been removed and the prices of products did not move from maybe 185 to 700, 600 in some places, how can you remove it without all this? So we have to take care of all these reactions and all these side effects before you eventually announce it. But you have announced it and these effects are there. So you can't announce it without these effects coming there when there is no alternative on ground.
Well, I do know that my colleagues in Lagos will have further questions. Gentlemen.
Okay, let me begin with Mr. Suleiman, with you right there in the studio. Well, Mr. Suleiman, there was a question put to you the other time about, from my colleagues with you right there, about the reaction of your members to this announcement. As you have also said, the subsidy issue, as far as the federal government is concerned, from the previous administration, no provision made beyond June 2023. So the announcement of the president, as you have also rightly said, is not something new. He's just saying this is the scenario because the previous administration had done this. And then your members, some of the people who retail the products that you sell, they go out as soon as that announcement was made and they increase the pump prices. And as we speak, huge implications all across the country. What do you do to members who err in such a way?
Yeah, like I've told you, thank you. We have a task force that goes around all the filling stations in the country. And I want to assure you, they are there working right from yesterday, that any filling station that has been caught, increasing the price just because of this announcement, there has to be a penalty against him.
Mr. Suleiman,
so I want to assure
Nigerians,
they should not panic.
To be specific, what is the penalty? Because as we speak, it is not unknown to you that there are fuel prices being sold at 600 naira, 700 naira in various parts of the country. There are states right now as we speak that have gone ahead and sealed off some fuel stations, and it's not your task force. So help us understand, what is your body doing to ensure that this does not continue? Because from what Mr. Ajero is saying, he's laying the blame on the federal government, which is not a fuel retailer, but your members.
Yeah, we want to tell Nigerians that we're trying, like I've told you right from yesterday, highlighting to our members that this should not be a preclude to increase pricing, and the regulation doesn't mean increasing in pricing, so they should please try to understand the whole situation and cooperate with government, because the regulation is the best thing for Nigeria. Like, there was a speaker that said, was it yesterday, that if we didn't try to kill subsidy,
all this
subsidy
point.
would kill
my sincere apologies for butting in. You made all of this point earlier when you were talking about, what the whole thing is about. But specifically, what is the penalty? How many fuel stations have been sealed within the past 48 hours since the announcement was made? I went out the very day of inauguration after that comment was made by Mr. President, and guess what? Fuel had increased on the very same day. And I didn't see any task force talking to any of these fuel stations. There were queues automatically all over the nation. So how many fuel stations have been sealed? How many fuel stations have your members, your task force visited? What is the penalty? Please be specific.
Yeah, we sanctions them.
What kind of sanction?
We sanction them.
What kind of sanction?
We close the stations. We close the station.
How many stations have been closed so far?
Might be. That's what I'm talking. You
okay,
you can't understand.
Okay, go ahead. Pardon.
You understand? Yes. Like I've said, we sanction, and probably you have said, you have gone out, you went out, but you haven't met some of our task force. Probably you were not able to see them. But I want to assure you, they are there doing their job, and I want to assure you, right from yesterday to today and tomorrow, inward, you will see that virtually all the stations now are selling at the appropriate pricing. And I want to assure you and solicit the support of Nigerians that they should.
Thank you for the effort, Mr. Suleiman. Thank you for the effort.
Yes.
But to be specific, within the past 24 to 48 hours, how many stations have been visited or shut down or sanctioned by your association?
We have a large filling station in Nigeria, retail outlets, and at every like yesterday, we had some report to the headquarters from various depots, and today too we're going to have today's report. As at yesterday, about 100, more than 100 filling stations has been sanctioned, and I want to assure you, some of them, when we go through the report, they are not real registered independent petroleum marketers, because the real registered independent marketers cannot go against the laws of its association. So please, but all the same, we try to let the task force continue their job. You know, you find there are some people that will just go outside there, you know, building station without even registering. There are a lot of them.
All right.
And that is why even Nigerian Minister.
Well, Mr. Suleiman, there is this information from you, for you. If you can hear me, Mr. Suleiman.
1st of June. So we want to identify.
Mr. Suleiman, just one quick question. It's one of the questions we were hoping to ask you anyway. It's one of the questions we were hoping to ask you, if there is an avenue through which these issues can be taken up with your task force, any conduit. For instance, Chukwemeka Edwin on Twitter is asking, they said, about fuel at 500 naira per liter now in Enugu. Now, he said, do IPMAN task force operate in Enugu state? And I add, if they do, where are they? How do people report to IPMAN?
That is a good question, and what we should do, it's a good observation, and I thank you so much. We'll try from today, try to give out a number that any individuals that go to that filling station, you should please report to us so that we take necessary action to that station.
How will that number get to Nigerians?
Inshallah, today, when I get back to office, I will communicate Chamberlain. Inshallah, we'll do not only Chamberlain, all their media houses in Nigeria, by the grace of God.
Let me ask Comrade Ajero a quick question. Marquia has already asked you about the scenario where subsidy removal will not generate this kind of reaction, because one of the statement that you put out also said, and I quote, though someday Nigeria will have to remove the subsidy, the time to do it is not now. Question then is, what time is good enough?
Well, thank you very much. If you look at that question, you know, it was called from the statement of Mr. President in 2012. And he gave serious analysis of what should be present before subsidy is removed. And now we try to bring it up to remind him what he said and to find out whether those policies, whether those conditions are precedent that is stipulated. So that's clear. And then the time, if I now go into it specifically, the time is when there is alternative, when according to our discussion with them and the agreement before now, you know, we can indigenously produce these products that will have the crude here, we can refine, and we have been refining over 40-something years ago, and suddenly we entered into a kind of prodigal economy, you know. So that is the situation. That is the time. It could be tomorrow, it could be next tomorrow, when these conditions are present. If you now say we must be import dependent and there's nothing imported, what are Nigerians going to use?
Well, Mr. Ajero, I think part of that question has been answered with the commissioning of Dangote Refinery. So that's some sort of local refining. It's private, but it's local anyway. So we're no more, at least if there's some sort of handshake, there will be no need to import as much of refined product. That's petrol specifically. Dangote Refinery says by July, the product should hit the market. So is that enough for you?
Well, I first of all have to commend Dangote Refinery, you know, but the provision of having dictatorship of the market, especially in the private sector, is dangerous. Now, that is what we're experiencing in the area of cement production. What is Dangote Refinery going to produce? Will it be enough? Thanking him, he has done a lot to provide, to build a refinery. If 3 or 4 companies like that are refining, then you are talking of competition. If you have only one station, Dangote refineries, I bet you it may be higher than what some people may buy from other countries. So I think while we commend Dangote as a good Nigerian, we have to look at, they are talking of competition, they're talking of deregulation. And you see somebody, saying he's going to stop his members from selling at a certain price. Under a deregulated economy, you don't fix price. You allow the market dynamics, determine the price. So Dangote has done well, but can Dangote take care of 30% of the needs of Nigeria? That's the question.
Mr. Ajero, it's a bit difficult getting, your precise position on some issues. First, it's not been fully deregulated, hence subsidy. Subsidy is still being paid, at least up until the end of June. So the market has not been deregulated. We know that the PIA was suspended for 18 months. So June is the terminal date. Even the budget, 2023 budget, says that much, that after June, by the end of June specifically, subsidy is no more captured, the oil and gas deduction. So it is not deregulated. When you say that you want some things done, I'd like you to be clearer with Nigerians. Are you saying that subsidy should be paid perpetually, even if Dangote has come in by July and we're refining locally to a large extent? Are you still saying that subsidy should continue? I need you to speak specifically. What exactly do you want?
I think there is need for us to understand ourselves in this matter. When you speak English and you say subsidy is gone, I want you to understand the actual meaning of it. You are not saying subsidy will go by the end of June. That is one. Two, I have not.
Pardon me, I need to come in there because you had said that the president's word is as good as law, but it is not law. There is a law, the Appropriation Act, and it is clearly captured that up until the end of June. So even if the president says it is gone, he will have to amend that Appropriation Act. At least we're a nation of laws anyway. He'll have to amend the Appropriation Act, amend the Petroleum Industry Act to remove it right now. But based on the law, it elapses by the end of June.
Well, I think you are trying to now clarify the president's statement. But
no, I'm saying what the law says, Mr. Ajero.
Mr. President's statement, is it the position of the law?
Mr. President's statement was clear. He said that the previous government had removed subsidies, speaking based on the budget, which ends subsidy by June, end of June. That is what the law says, and that is what he reiterated.
See, my brother, if we want us to, you have asked few questions which I'm trying to, clarify. Subsidy is gone. Subsidy will end or by end of June. Let's take it together. And the implication on the country. That's what we're saying. And in this statement, I have stated that we have made suggestions over the years on how to cushion the effects, of not getting products or getting products at a market value. Where you open it up that somebody has to go to the black market or wherever to change money at 750. If the person goes to the open market, to the black market to change at 750 and eventually buys the product at that foreign exchange and comes to sell a liter for 750, did we make any provision to cushion the effects? That's what Labour is saying. Labour is not saying that you can't remove subsidy. Labour is saying, how can we assess this product? How can this country survive given certain dynamics, transportation system, our wage system, social safety nets and all that? And we have been on this conversation for the past 10 years up to this moment. And these provisions were not made. They were not taken care of, and subsidy is gone. So that's the question. That's where we are, and that's what we have to. Even if Labour decides not to talk, they are accused all over the country. Everybody is running helter-skelter. The effects are there on Nigerians. So this is not all about what does Labour say.
All right, comrade. We need to thank you for coming on. Comrade Joe Ajero is the president of Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you for your time today. Yakubu Salaman, you also have said that IPMAN members, MOMAN members, but there are some others who are not registered, who are not recognized, who are selling, increasing these prices. Well, who knows what. Anyway, let's let it go at this point in time. Yakubu Sulaiman is National PRO for IPMAN. Thank you for coming on today
so much.
as well. Well, we do have some comments that came through from you out there. This first one comes from Olagunju talking about the fuel subsidy matter as well. Now, he goes on to say, while removing fuel subsidies may cause immediate economic and social shocks, a gradual and well-planned approach to phasing out can mitigate these effects. It will reduce the mental effects if this administration categorically states the implementation strategies.
Well, Ejike Eze says, I agree with Labour that there is incompetence in subsidy management. However, what assurances do we have that if petrol becomes relatively cheap in Nigeria, people will not export this petrol meant for Nigerians to other countries?
Good observation. Well, Deji's tweet commends Mr. Joe Ajero, saying he has shown he knows his onions as a Labour leader. We know subsidy is the elephant in the room, but we can't pull down the house just to get rid of the elephant. You have to understand the issues surrounding subsidy and address tactfully.
Festus Akimboyewa says, removal of fuel subsidy is an act of parliament via the Appropriation Act 2023. Does it mean Labour unions were asleep when the appropriation bill was passed into law? Good question. Another one by Professor Nakana says, government must cushion the effects of subsidy removal by reinvesting those funds into sustainable infrastructure, provision of renewable energy, improving the generation, distribution, and sustainability of energy sources, investment in our educational and health sector, grow the infotech industry, invest in agriculture to cushion the effect of incremental rise in prices of food and services. Those are just some of your comments. Thank you so much for bringing them on, and thank you for the privilege of being a part of your morning. I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day.
Hey, I'm Kaido Kikili. Goodbye.
Thank you. I'm Malkwel Gun Yusuf. Bye-bye.
I'm Chamberlain also. Have a great one.